Welcome. Today we are embarking on a grand journey that spans from the darkest periods in history to the most modern crises, exploring how money and trust are intertwined. By the end of this video, you will have a much clearer understanding of why a nation's currency collapses, at which points economies break, and how these breakdowns leave their mark on societies. If you're ready, let's begin. Throughout history, every great power, no matter who they were, faced the same truth. When power is lost, the first thing to fall is not money, it's trust. The moment a society loses its confidence in the state, governance, or the system, the invisible threads of the economy start to unravel one by one. Money is not just a piece of metal or paper. It is a contract built on the collective belief of people. And when this contract is broken, even gold loses its value. The Byzantine gold solidus is one of the most striking examples of this. For 700 years, this gold coin was the world's most reliable currency and a symbol of the empire's strength. The purity of the solidus remained nearly unchanged, accepted throughout Europe, and became the lifeblood of trade. However, as time passed and the empire weakened due to wars, debts, and administrative mistakes, money could no longer withstand this decay. The state began mixing cheaper metals with gold. Economic trust that had stood for centuries suddenly shook in the eyes of the people. The depreciation of the solidus was a silent yet powerful indicator of Byzantium's decline. Then the world faced a massive catastrophe, the Black Death. Though it appeared to be merely a health crisis, its economic effects lasted for centuries. When nearly half of Europe's population perished, production collapsed, trade stopped, and money suddenly lost its meaning. In some regions, gold gained value, while in others it disappeared entirely. Because money is not born from a country's power, but from people's trust. During the Black Death, the sense of trust vanished, just like the people themselves. By the time we reached the Florence era, the European financial hub experienced a completely different crisis. The world's most powerful banks had been born there. The Medici family had established a financial empire from which even European kings borrowed. Yet when kings stopped repaying their debts, the chain broke somewhere. Florence's banks collapsed one after another. The liquidity crisis, fear of collapse, and waves of mistrust we see in modern banking were, in fact, experienced in the same way in Florence hundreds of years ago. The economy was large, the system was developed, but when trust was damaged, everything fell like dominoes. The American Civil War was also one of the most instructive periods regarding money. As the war dragged on, the state printed money uncontrollably to cover expenses. The value of paper money fell rapidly. A loaf of bread cost one price in the morning, another by evening. The people felt the exhaustion of the state even before the devaluation of money. Money is not valuable just because the state says so. It stands on the trust behind it. When that trust is lost, even the strongest armies must face economic crises. The assignat crisis in France demonstrated this truth once again. The new money introduced during the revolutionary period initially seemed promising, but when the revolutionary government started printing uncontrollably, the assignat rapidly lost value. People had money in their pockets, but it had no worth. While counting money in breadlines, they realized that in their hands was nothing more than paper. When trust collapses, the physical presence of money means nothing. Then one of the great economies of history was shaken, the Panic of 1873. This period revealed how fragile global financial networks were. The excessive growth of railroad investments, speculation, and increasing debt brought the system to the brink of collapse. Economic shocks spread in a chain from Europe to America. Governments were strong, economies were growing, but when trust was shaken, all shared the same fate. The 1997 Asian financial crisis is one of the fastest collapses in modern times. Beginning with Thailand having to abandon the baht peg, the crisis spread within weeks to South Korea, Indonesia, Malaysia, and the Philippines. It became clear once again that when a country's currency collapses, it affects not just that country, but the entire region. Foreign investors pulled out overnight, leaving millions unemployed and in debt. The same truth emerged again. It wasn't money that collapsed, it was trust. By 2008, the world painfully learned that even giant banks could fail. Banks deemed too big to fail were on the brink of disappearance within weeks. Years of uncontrolled risk-taking had shattered people's trust in the system. Even if economic indicators appeared strong, Accumulated mistrust behind the scenes could collapse the entire system instantly. The 2020 pandemic reminded us once again of how fragile the modern world economy is. Borders closed, production halted, supply chains broke. As people saw empty shelves in stores, they began losing faith in the economy. Then, the 2023 banking panic mirrored the crisis in Florence in modern times. Banks looked strong, but it was people's fear that dictated reality. All these examples tell us the same thing. Money does not collapse. Trust does. And when trust collapses, money becomes nothing more than a piece of metal or paper. Today, we may have stronger economies, bigger technology, faster data flow, and advanced systems. But the one unchanging truth that history shows us is this. What makes a society's money valuable is not its material structure, but the belief people have in it. Throughout this video, all the crises, collapses, and major transformations we've seen give us powerful clues to look toward the future. The economy is never just about numbers. A country's greatest treasure is the trust its people have in the system and the sustainability of that trust. History has told us this time and time again. What we must do is use these lessons as a compass to read the future. And remember, money can disappear, but when trust is lost, the system collapses completely.